What's up guys, I'm Jimmy Chang. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that a lot of you guys have been asking since I ride both Electric Unicycle and Onewheel. A lot of you guys have been asking me to compare between the two, and so that's what I'm going to do. Today we're here in the Garden of the Gods. I'm going to compare Onewheels versus Electric Unicycles.
I have two questions for you. Number one, how many states are there in the United States of America? 50, right? Easy. We can all agree on that. Question number two, which state in the United States is the best? Also a pretty easy question, right? But if I were to poll a group of people, I would have a hard time getting everyone to agree to the same answer. The first question, that's straightforward. And even if someone didn't know the answer, they could easily look it up and there would be no further discussion. The first question is an objective question with an objective answer based off of fact. And the second question, which state is the best state in the United States, is a subjective question based off of opinion, which can yield many subjective answers. What does this little quiz on the United States of America have to do with my comparison between the EUC and Onewheel? The comparison between the two devices can be debated for hours. Hardcore EUC fans will defend their wheel, boasting of range, speed, portability, and cost, only to have Onewheel fans say, well, the Onewheel is just cooler and more fun. It's an argument that cannot be won, and both sides are often left unsatisfied. I'm not here to settle the argument. That can never be done. I'm here to help you understand the objective data, the facts, that the United States has 50 states, and the differences between the EUC and Onewheel in terms of the objective data, range, speed, portability, and cost. At the end of this, I'll also share some subjective data, for example, why I think Colorado is the best state in the United States, and why one of these self-balancing wheels is better than the other. Let's start off with the objective data. These metrics are based on facts, an undeniable fact such as the United States has 50 states and that the Earth is round, and no one can seriously argue those facts. I've tried my best to remove subjectivity from these factors, but I'm human. So here we go. Range. Without a doubt, the EUC wins this, and it's not even close. My middle tier wheel, the Kingsong 16S, gets me over 30 miles of range on a charge. My Nikola advertises 70 miles on a charge. I've yet to do a range test on this. And there are other wheels out there that can go even further. The flagship Onewheel, the XR, can get 18 miles on a charge, while the newest entry-level Onewheel, the Pint, averages 8 miles on a charge. Let's look at speed next. The EUC wins this category too. Comparably priced electric unicycles have greater speed than the most expensive Onewheel. My Kingsong 16S has a cruising speed of 22 miles per hour, while my Nikola has a cruising speed of over 30 miles an hour. My Onewheel XR, on the other hand, reports a top speed of 19 miles an hour, and the Pint a top speed of 15. Next, we'll look at portability. The EUC wins this again. The trolley handle is amazing, allowing me to use the self-balancing capabilities to easily walk my EUC into any store, gym, classroom, restaurant, or coffee shop without difficulty. The Onewheel needs to be carried, and no matter how you carry it, doing it for any distance ends up being a drag. Safety. Any device that requires a machine to keep you from crashing is dangerous and is susceptible to failure. That being said, there are safety measures that can be put in to prevent catastrophic failure. With the Onewheel, the main safety feature built into the board is pushback, which is basically the nose of the board tilting up to let the rider know that you're approaching the threshold at which the demands of the motor exceeds its ability to keep you upright. Go past pushback and you may end up with a nosedive. The next Onewheel safety measure is, well, there isn't any. There's no audible alerts, and there's no significant backup capacity to keep you upright if you surpass the top speed. There's a little buffer between the advertised top speed and the nosedive threshold, but when Future Motion advertises the Onewheel with a top speed of 19 miles an hour, while people have gone several miles faster than that, there is not much built-in reserve power to keep you upright, and speed racers that like to push the limit will crash at some point. The EUC has a few more built-in safety features than the Onewheel, Those features may differ slightly from maker to maker, but in essence you have tilt back, which is the EUC equivalent to the Onewheel's pushback. The next safety feature is an audible alert, where the board notifies you that you are going too fast. And as for my Kingsong 16S, it tells me to please decelerate. If you push through those two warnings, the tilt back and the audible warning, the EUCs have built-in reserve power, a safety margin to keep you up. And that's more robust than anything I've seen in the Onewheel. The last safety difference between the EUC and Onewheel that doesn't seem to get much attention is the difficulty level it is to learn these devices. Some may say that this is subjective and not objective, but I think most will agree that learning how to ride the Onewheel is much easier than learning how to ride the Electric Unicycle. While the ease of learning how to ride the Onewheel has been great to grow the popularity of the device, it often results in the all too common story of a reckless beginner growing overconfident, going too fast, and then wiping out before he or she even knows what a nosedive is. Because the EUCs are more difficult to learn, there's more of an understanding on how these devices work, and a respect for the machine develops during the learning process. The steep learning curve may put many people off and prevent them from even trying the electric unicycle, but it's that same steep learning curve that keeps EUC riders safe. So, EUC wins safety. Does that mean you'll never fall on an EUC? Heck no. People will push their devices past their limits and they'll get hurt. Mechanical parts will fail, people won't have the skill level to do what they're riding. Things happen. Single-wheeled self-balancing technology has its inherent risks, and we accept that when we ride, but the EUC overall is safer than the Onewheel. The next metric we'll look at is cost. This one's a little tougher to compare just because there are multiple companies that make EUCs and each company makes several models, while the Onewheel only has 2 models in production made by one company. For the specs that you get in terms of speed and range, my mid-tier Kingsong 16S sells for less than the flagship Onewheel XR, yet the 16S outdoes the Onewheel in every objective measure. As far as price for specs, the EUC wins. Now that we've covered the objective data points that I wanted to look at, let's look at the subjective data. These metrics are hard to compare because they're subjective. It's based on opinion and preferences, and not fact. This is why I can say Colorado is the best state in the USA, while many may disagree with me. I can give objective data back and forth, up and down. These are subjective metrics that vary from person to person, and it's hard to measure. For me, the biggest subjective factor regarding these two is the fun factor. This factor is what most people give as their reason for getting one or the other. It looks like so much fun. Sure, you can say you need it for a transportation solution, but in the end, you will get what you get because it's fun and it's what you want. When you boil it down, the EUC and the Onewheel are very similar. The Onewheel is like a smaller diameter wheel EUC with a fatter tire that you stand on sideways instead of forward facing. But it's those minor changes that make a huge difference to some people. Something about the sideways stance resonates with people. It sparks the kid inside of you, harkening back to your skater days during your adolescence, or that unforgettable scene from your favorite movie Back to the Future where Marty's trying to get away from Biff and his goons. Or maybe you love snowboarding or surfing, and because of where you live, you just don't have easy access to get there. So you thought the Onewheel could satisfy that itch. There's something about that sideways stance of the Onewheel that gets people so stoked. The EUC is fun too. Going fast, going far, feeling like you're on a roller coaster where you can control where you want to go, it's pretty amazing. And not having to stop and charge as frequently keeps you riding for longer and farther than most other electric rideable devices. The other thing that some consider fun about the Onewheel that the EUC doesn't really have is the third-party and DIY customizations. As much as Future Motion, the makers of the Onewheel, try to ignore the third-party market, they have to credit the community for building an entire micro-industry, developing and selling modifications to the Onewheel, from custom fenders to footplates to rail guards to battery extenders. It's a pretty amazing community. people love customizing their Onewheel, just like when I was growing up, people loved modding their Honda Civic. The Honda Civic wasn't the best car, but it was super popular because it was so customizable and had a huge third-party market to support it. Lights, decals, huge fenders, and other mods were made so that each Honda Civic could be personal. In a similar way, the Onewheel has a community around it because of these modifications. The EUC community does not have as big of a customization culture. That brings me to the last point, community. Both have an active online forum, but I will say the Onewheel groups tend to be more engaging and fun than the EUC groups. Again, this is all subjective. In conclusion, who wins? If you look at the objective data based on facts and metrics, the EUC beats the Onewheel in all those categories, including speed, range, safety, portability, and price. While specs are certainly very important, they aren't everything. So much of an experience depends also on emotions, feelings, biases, past experiences, and perception. Certain products can evoke a powerful emotional connection with people, and I think that's where the Onewheel wins. There's something about the Onewheel that just gets people excited. It's like that scene in Ratatouille where the food critic tastes the food and all those positive past emotions come flooding in. The Onewheel does that for people, especially middle-aged men. It reminds them of their childhood days riding their skateboard, only the Onewheel's cooler and requiring less physical work. It lets snowboarders and surfers feel like they're doing what they love without having to go into the mountains or onto the beach. For me, it made me feel like I was living out one of my favorite scenes from my childhood favorite movie, Back to the Future 2. Whatever the reason, the Onewheel has won the marketing department and the public perception of the Onewheel being a cooler device than the Electric Unicycle. But I have great news for you guys. The two devices are not mutually exclusive. Just because you love one does not mean you have to hate the other. Instead, the two can be enjoyed and used for their strengths, so I recommend giving both a shot if you have the chance. I love the Onewheel for methodical cruising, carving, tricks, and community. I love the EUC for thrilling hands-free speed, long distance travel, and exploration.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. At least now you're a little bit more informed about the differences between the Electric Unicycle and the Onewheel, and you guys can make an informed decision between what you want to get using subjective and objective data. And if you guys want to help out the channel, you can go ahead and give this video a like and give my channel a subscribe. If you want to help my channel in another way, what you can do is purchase some merchandise. I have this shirt here, I have this hat here, it's got my logo on it, J and a C for Jimmy Chang, or whatever else you want to say, JC, and you can do that, purchase that. I'll have links down below. When you do so, half the proceeds go to support our group ride group, the Denver Rocky Mountain Onewheel Mob. The other half goes to support my channel directly. All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.